I would probably take an average 1-2 grinder playing his A game over an average 25-50 grinder playing his C game any day.
You're listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. Each week, you'll get to peek inside the greatest minds in the game and discover what makes them successful.
Mental toughness separates those that can't handle the stress.
If you're going to treat it like an amateur, you're probably going to have amateur results.
Now here's your host, Elliot Rowe.
Hey, Elliot Rowe here. I'm very excited to announce that for the next few episodes, Stephen Baker will be guest hosting the show. Stephen has experience both as a professional poker player, strategic coach, and now a member of my mindset and performance coaching world. I can confidently say that Stephen's one of the world's leading experts in poker mindset and performance, and I'm really excited to hear the conversations he has with some fantastic guests. And with that, here's Stephen.
My guests on today's podcast are Greekfish Andreou and Misha van der Kar. They are both experienced high-level poker players who've come together to form Universal Poker. As you'll hear, Universal Poker is really unique in its niche. It's so much more than an affiliate. In this podcast, we'll hear why an affiliate is really important for all poker players, be they professional or recreational, and how their particular service can actually take away a lot of the stress and the problems and indeed the variance that's associated with being a poker player. So without further ado, let's get to it and hear from Andy and Misha. So welcome, Andy, Misha. Great to have you here. Some of our viewers, listeners will be familiar with you, but for those who aren't, I'm just going to ask you one by one to just introduce yourself, your story in poker, and how you came to be working together. So Andy, first of all, renowned Greekfish. Those of us who've been playing poker long enough will certainly know that as a name of long standing. Just tell us a little bit about yourself for those who are less familiar with you.
Well, I was a DJ at a young age, found poker, wasn't very good at it. And as the years went on of losing, I actually had a passion for it and become good. When I say good, back in them times, it was very easy to be good. And I was sponsored by certain sites after a few years of playing, and that's how I got into the industry.
That's cool. That's cool. And in a minute, we're going to talk about the venture you have with Misha, which is, I think, a really important one for poker players, whether they're recreationals or professionals. But Misha, again, you come from a high level poker background. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, it's actually funny how I met Andy as a player. So that's something that should speak for his level of work. I used to be a professional poker player indeed. I started back in 2010. Well, it's a long time ago now, I realize it. I still feel young, but I'm not so young anymore. But I used to be a professional player. I've just like Andy back then, it wasn't that difficult to be a good player. I was very passionate about it and started with free rolls and, was climbing up the ladders. And over time, I was fortunate enough to be, making a living of it. And at some point, when I started having children, I started noticing that I wasn't as passionate anymore about playing. I still continued to play, but I noticed like there was a mindset shift. And parallel to that, I was always interested in studying because I couldn't just enjoy playing poker as the sole thing or the sole purpose in my life. So I finished my degrees and after that, Annie was like, "Hey, why don't you start working with me as a trial period?" Because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I still loved poker, but not necessarily the playing side of it. And I studied psychology and business administration, which actually align very well with the poker industry. But in this specific niche, you notice that quite often, and this is probably one of the topics we'll address during the podcast, the level of professionalism from the brands in the poker vertical specifically is rather low. It's mostly a very hands-on mentality, not very structured, very different to anything you learn on business school. And I've had plenty of business cases, and I shared a lot of those with Andy, and he was like, "No, this is not how they run a poker business worth billions." You would argue it would be like that. So then, long story cut short, and he was like, "Okay, well, don't you want to get involved? Let's start talking with these poker sites. You know the playing side, the stable side, you know the theory behind it, and let's put this into practice." And that was in
Well,
2017.
Misha, you've left something out. Let me interrupt you. Misha, when I met him, was quite young, and his parents were putting a lot of pressure on him, like all good parents do, because you go and tell your parents you want to become a professional poker player. They don't take that very well. So he had to get his degrees, get all his qualifications out the way, while being able to prove that he can make it in this market. And Misha's underselling himself. He was a very, very good player, and he was beating the games pretty comfortably. But once you have a family, things change when you've got small children and a nagging partner saying that you need to provide X amount of money each month. And he had to take the safer option where there's not so much variance and everything else. And that's how we formed this business. And because of his playing history, as I said, he was a very high level. It made it very easy for us to transition and do the affiliate side of things. And because obviously as players, we know what everyone needs, what you want to be a professional player or semi-professional, even a recreational player, because no one turns money down for free. No one does it. So that's where we're
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, and this is something that's come across because obviously both of you have got a very deep history as poker players, and I think this is really important. You've touched on what you do. You've come together. You run Universal Poker, and you've given us an idea of what that is. But I want to just talk about it a bit more. What is it? What is, firstly, for those who aren't familiar, what is an affiliate? What does it do? But I think it's really important to emphasize why you're different. And that's why you're here today, because you are different, right?
Yeah.
Just either of you, both of you can speak to that.
Well, I'd like Misha as the boff to explain the first start of this, and then I'll follow on how I formed this business and the reasons why, and why we're not only affiliates, we're your personal agents, and people don't understand that side of it because there's a lot of other dynamics what we face daily actually. But please, Misha.
Yeah, so in short, an affiliate, technically speaking, all it does is it provides poker sites with traffic, and in return it gets a commission. And that has always been the model in every industry. But we actually believe that this is not a right fit to the poker industry because uh, quite often the poker sites lack the skill set and the abilities to help players out in the right way, and that could mean a lot of things. And what we try to excel at, and I think we do, but I'll let our audience see it for themselves, is that we are able not only to give extra value to the players, because from the portions of what we get from the poker sites for our help, we give the vast majority back to the players. We mostly do this because we believe it's the right thing to do, as well as the retention rates for players. So that's one. And the second part is that we always try to help the players because we're lucky enough to know the right people in the right departments. And since we are here for a long period of time, we don't have the issues that most sites have, which is this life cycle for their staff. It's usually very fast moving jobs. So, and poker is not their main priority. Usually it's maybe their fourth or their fifth priority. So if they have support, they don't have specialized support for poker anymore. At least most brands don't anymore. So since we are around for such a long period of time, we know how to connect the dots. So if you have an issue with your account, could be anything. Could be source of funds. It could be a refund ticket. It could be that your account got closed because you've done something, or you logged in from an illegal country like in the US, even though you didn't want to. Like it could be anything you could come up with, and we are there to help you out. I'm not saying we can fix it. That's not a given, but we are able to at least fast track pretty much everything or help you out straight away just by being able to connect the dots.
Sorry, yeah, just saying in many instances, I mean, obviously we're put on the spot here, but as I said, we solve things like this every day. Someone may be on holiday in a restricted country and they VPN to log in and check something and they sign into the site. All of a sudden their account is locked. Sending an email via support or getting on chat, typing away for an hour gets you nowhere. And it takes you days, if you're lucky, to get anything resolved. Whereas if this is the agent side of things, you come to us as your personal agent, irrespective of what level of player you are. I have a problem. Okay, username, email, leave it to me. One of my staff will go away, to the designated site and we'll fast track your problem. And because we're so big now and we provide a lot of revenue for these sites, we get taken very seriously. We've got our own personal managers, if you like, to deal with queries 24 hours a day. So this is what I'm saying. It's an extended support. So it gets the job done a lot faster and you can enjoy your holiday or whatever you're doing because you don't want to sit on the computer for 4 hours trying to resolve something. And this happens every day, multiple times a day. And this is just one, instance of what we face, literally.
Yeah, this is fantastic because, having played professional poker myself, obviously, I don't think there's a person who's played poker even semi-seriously, recreationally, who has not had some kind of issue, either getting money on a site, getting money off a site, having a disconnection issue, which wasn't their fault, and wanting some kind of compensation. And definitely it's true to say that it just raises your blood pressure to have to deal with the kind of standardized response you get from support quite often. And it's really great to be able to say to somebody, can you look after that for me? And these actually, if we're talking about serious players, these are, this podcast is about the intangibles. It's about the performance edges. These are the small edges. And for sure, any affiliate will say, look, I will add a little bit of money to your bank account. But to actually somebody to say, hey, not just that, I will look after you. I will be effectively your voice to support. That is that really, when it happens, it's worth it because you just take all of those worries away and you just say, hey, can you sort that out for me? And that's real value right there. In fact, I can speak to this because I actually know of a case you did for somebody I work with very closely, where you helped get some money back. And this is somebody who's very competent, very capable, but you unlocked the door. Perhaps you can give people some examples of effectively for me, what you're offering is not an affiliate service as such. It's a customer support concierge service. It's like when you go to a great hotel and you say, can you book me in for this? Can you sort that out for me? It's the same kind of thing. It's just you hand it over to somebody, they sort it. Can you give us some examples of the kind of things you've been able to sort for players?
Yeah, let me start by saying I think the case that you're talking about is refunds for disconnection. Now, a lot of times, sometimes it's the player's fault, but sometimes it's got nothing to do with the player. And there's a site glitch or something. And if you're playing, let's, for example, 5 tables of 100 spins and your connection goes, you just do $500. So the thing is, if it's not your fault, what we do, we go to the sites and we always try to use the common sense factor and say, look, this guy's very valuable to us and to you. It's best to look after him. Can we do something for him? Because clearly this is not his fault. And the common sense approach is always used. And we refund players via the site. This is not something that's normal, but the amount of revenue, and we're going into millions per month now, that we do on sites, obviously we're of high value to them. So they want to keep us sweet, if you like. But there's a lot of other things. And I know we spoke about this briefly before this stream, but because it's a mindset channel and we're doing this, podcast with mindset in mind, these are just some of the things that drive you nuts. Now, as a former professional poker player, if I was playing a cash game or spin, whatever it may be, and something like this happened, it would absolutely tilt me. Now, I know I'm not supposed to say that, but all of a sudden I find myself playing a lot more aggressively, making the wrong decisions. Now, if they go right, all well and good, but there's a lot of time that doesn't happen. And this is what led up to it. So
Yeah.
affiliates, I know I shouldn't say this, but obviously as the owner of Universal, I'm going to say we're the best, but we really are the best. There's nothing that competes out there to what we do. And Misha, touched on the fact we give a lot of rake back rewards, any way you want to word it. We really, really do. We work on a tiny number. I mean, in most cases, like 2 or 3% to give you context. And we reward the players everything because we want to grow, we want to be the biggest, and it has to be sustainable not only for the players, but for the site themselves. And people don't consider these things, but it always takes both sides to be happy to make it sustainable. And again, because it's a mindset video, I struggled with all sorts of things to ruin my mindset when I was playing online at the start, like my pets, my dog, my cat, even my young children at the time. They run into the room and you lose concentration for a split second when you're clicking buttons and you make wrong decisions. But please elaborate, Misha. I know there's a
Actually,
lot
to
more, but
tap in on that, and because this podcast is mostly about mindset and performance, I know historically most professional players who focus on these areas, and I think compared to like 10, 15 years ago, has become a common practice also thanks to your work and like general professionalizing of the business, is that usually people focus on nutrition, they focus on general health, and usually it's like an internal focus of or locus of control, like to stick to psychological terms, and affiliation is never part of that domain, right? So they don't think about
No.
this as
Yeah.
something that is part of their health check, if you know what I mean. And but most people who start working with us, they start to understand that having like a good affiliate, it's not necessarily us. Let's make that clear. But anyone who could help you out, for that matter, to improve your playing circumstances should not be underestimated, because any distraction, such as, for example, the support issues you mentioned, it just affects your productivity, right? I remember very well why I was so happy with Andy as an affiliate. I think that's a nice anecdote. I used to be with a different affiliate myself, and I used to be, I'm Dutch, so I'm a value hunter. I always look for the best deals, and usually deals are mispresented. And I used to be under a different affiliate on one of the brands I was playing on. I will not mention it here. It's not. I don't think it's appropriate. But I went to a live event because I won a sponsored package in Dublin through one of Andy's partners, and I was there. And then the general manager, who also happens to work with us now, Paul, he was working for that brand, and he spoke to me and he was like, "Hi, Misha, how you doing?" And I was, "Is there anything I can help you with?" And I was like, "Actually, yes, you can help me with something, because I won a prize in leaderboard, and that affiliate will not pay me out because he made a mistake, and he had the rights in the terms and conditions to not pay out under whatever circumstance, but it was his mistake, it wasn't mine, and he admitted that." And what I loved about Andy back then, I didn't know him at all. Uh, Paul went over to him, and Andy was the master affiliate, if you will, from all the affiliates on that side. So he was implicitly their boss, but he had no, influence on what happened to me. And he overheard it, and I explained the situation to him. He gave me the money, and he called the sub affiliate. He said, "You're going to put this player under me right now, and if this happens again, you're out." And he happened to be out pretty quickly afterwards, because what happened to me was completely not done. Like he had to pay me out, and he didn't. And then that moment, like for me, it was like an eye opener. Like the level of service, talking about mindset and performance, like that incident really affected my grind back then. Like I didn't play for like an entire week. I was so agitated about what happened.
Yeah.
It was completely irrational how angry I
Yeah.
was.
I mean, let's be honest with you. Like, players players struggle with
Yeah.
downswings, right? It can have an influence on them. But like, if you, for example, are disconnected through no fault of your own, that is like something which really feels like a kick in the gonads, basically, because it's like, wow, it's not even anything to do with poker as such. It's just, there's another bit of variance, as if we don't have enough
Yeah.
variance in poker. It does affect people's mindsets. I mean, another factor is, I mean, I definitely found this. Sometimes as a pro, you would think you would be told this is a good site, get onto this site, and my God, it was hard getting onto some sites.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody can look after that process, because we want to play poker, we all want to do what we're good at, and wrestling with admin, wrestling with bureaucracy is not what we are good at. We don't want to do it. But I've definitely had that experience of firing off an email to support and just getting what is clearly a standardized response back. And the fact that you guys even get to speak to them is just a massive in. But I also want to add something else about what you said about the other affiliates. I did have an experience with other affiliates, and that's the thing. You guys are actually taking away problems, but I remember being on one and having to have an arm wrestle to get the money I should have got out of them. I don't want to have that fight. They actually became a new source of stress. So it's somebody else to fight with. I want to do my fighting at the tables, not with somebody else who's supposed to be helping me. So this is a real point of distinction. The fact that you are offering effectively, not just to put a bit of extra money into somebody's account, and that is valuable, but the fact that you're taking away all of this stress, all of this time consuming and energy consuming stuff. The fact that you can get me onto the sites I now know I want to get onto, do your level best. Let's put it that way. I mean, sometimes there may be a specific geographical restriction, but quite often I found that wasn't the case. It was just to do with bureaucracy, and somebody sat behind a computer saying, okay, I haven't got the brain to think about this. I'll just say no. I'll send out this standard email back. But yeah, Andy, you were gonna say something about all of this.
Yeah, I was just thinking back of an instance. Actually, there's a lot more to it than this when it comes to support. I want to give you two examples. One, there was, if you look around, Universal, or me or Misha, in fact, we've never not paid anyone. So you will never see anything derogatory about us, because even when it's my personal costs, which I'll give you an example now, we pay. If we advertise something, if we tell someone something, we keep our word, always. Now, there was an instance 5 or 6 years ago with the company Betfair. We joined that company. We done a massive promotion that month of €100,000 race. Now, that was ambitious, and we knew that. But as I said, the size of the affiliate we work now, we were quite confident, that we could afford to do that promotion. There was a tax issue, not by us, by the actual site themselves. They miscalculated some numbers. And at the end of the month, I lost €75,000, and Misha will testify to this.
I was one of the players back then, yes.
Yeah, for tax purposes, I paid it out of my own pocket. And that's what I'm saying. We will not let anyone down. We readjusted the promotions after that based on what we were paid, obviously. But that was at my personal cost. And that's the sort of people that we are. We will sit there. We fight tooth and nail to give as much back to the players to make it sustainable for them, so they're able to play, daily, weekly, monthly. But we negotiate because of the power in numbers. I use this with my team all the time. Power in numbers. Because we got thousands and thousands of players playing each month, we can negotiate with sites to get them better rewards. Now, this doesn't matter if it's a $5 ticket or a $500 spin ticket. The point is, it's relevant to, how you play, what you play. This is why I would suggest everyone out there should have a affiliate stroke agent. And Misha touched on other affiliates. I don't want to badmouth anyone. Everyone's out there. You could do your own due diligence. But what they don't realise is the good affiliates are actually subbed underneath me. So if you behave well at school, you're allowed to subcontract from me on a particular deal. But if you're a bad boy, I don't want you. And what we found out over the years, the sub-affiliates we give into are a lot less, because for one reason or another, they don't pay players, or they cut promotions, or they falsely advertise. I mean, I've seen a deal recently where a certain site affiliate were advertising more than what I am. And I said, what the hell's going on here? This is impossible, because, the numbers they were saying. And what they do, they confuse NGR, RS, GGR, and they combine it and create, creative wording, let's say, to get people to sign up. Because once you signed up with a certain affiliate and you're active, sites are reluctant to retag that player. So it causes all the drama. So honesty is bloody hard in this industry. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's two basic business models we see across a whole range of businesses. There's the one which says, I'm going to try and squeeze everything I can out of the customer. And there's the one which says, I'm going to give value and allow that to basically sell my service more widely, and that I will grow on the strength of that. The second one's a braver choice, right? Because it often takes a longer term view, more investment of yourselves and money, frankly. But it's the one that usually wins in the end because people end up having a better experience and the word spreads. And I have to say, I really, I'm glad to have you guys on. I'm glad to be able to have people on who I can say, you will sell what basically a lot of people, should expect from affiliates. I mean, in a sense, look, what can go wrong? What's wrong with this? Well, the answer is you've kind of given us a couple of examples when people haven't lived up to their promises. But if somebody can live up to the promise of putting some extra money in your account, getting you on sites, getting your money off sites when you want it, taking a load of stress, it's a win-win. But you want somebody who can actually deliver that. And the great thing is as well with you guys, you really are going to understand poker players, and that's definitely not true of every affiliate by any manner of means. So guys, I just want to end by just inviting you to just describe where everybody can find you. There will be some links in the show notes, but where can we find you? And just tell us anything more anybody needs to know if they're interested in reaching out to you, which I think, frankly, everybody should be, whether you're a recreational or a pro. You should have this kind of service. Also, just one other minor question. If somebody's already tagged or somebody has never been tagged, joined a site without any affiliates, can they get re-tagged?
Common sense approach. What I mean by that, if you're with an affiliate and the affiliate's treating you in the right way, i.e. paying you each month and giving you a good service, there's no need for you to try and change affiliate to get a slightly better deal with me. So common sense says we're going to reject an application like that. But if you're inactive and you haven't played for weeks, months, possibly years, and you want to be reactivated with a real affiliate where your rewards are worthy, then yes, apply. We have jot forms, which Misha will tell you all about, which you apply for, and we ask the sites and they say yes or no with a little bit of persuasion. Common sense. But Misha, elaborate, please.
Yeah, like you can find us on universalpoker.com. We have a brand new site. We put a lot of time, love, money, and effort in it. So that's the most convenient way. You'll find our contact details. We generally work with through all the socials, Discord, Skype, WhatsApp, you name it. Like we talk to the players wherever they want to speak to us. And the deals are listed on our site as well as on our Discord. And if anyone has any questions, they can just message us and we'll get back to them. Like we take pride in working 7 days a week in this industry, which I think is also something we haven't touched upon. Most of the sites, they work 5 days a week, believe it or not, even during the weekends, which you would argue would be the most important days to work for a poker site. They don't work. So if you need support on a Sunday during your MTT schedule, well, good luck. It's not going to work out quite often. So we're around 7 days a week. That's not an exaggeration. That really is
Fantastic.
the case.
The new site I should mention that we've just launched has got an API system built in. So another, a little win for players. You could go there, track your rake over the month, your payments, and this is over all the sites. It's not just one site. And obviously you could personally message us there as well with any issues or queries you may have, which we deal with. Who offers that? This is what I'm saying. We do everything to look after both the player and the site.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Well, I just want to thank you both for being here. I want you to thank you both as well for doing this, because nobody's really ticking that box in the market. I still play poker myself in between coaching, and it's exactly what the market needs. It needs that kind of high quality support from people who understand what players need. So thank you both for being here, sharing your time. and thank you for starting Universal Poker. As I say to everybody, do look in the show notes. You will be able to get links there. And thanks again, Andy and Misha. So many thanks to Andy and Misha. I highly recommend whatever your interest in poker, whether you're recreational or professional, looking up Andy and Misha and Universal Poker, because they are, in my experience, as somebody who played poker initially recreationally and then professionally, they are unique in their space and the service they offer. So the link for them is in the show notes. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Mindset Advantage podcast. Goodbye.
You've been listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. To get future episodes delivered to you automatically, make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting service. To get any resources mentioned in the episode or to listen to past shows, visit pokermindcoach.com/TMA podcast. Thanks for listening.